Trying to transition to a vegan diet for your health or for any other reason, the environment, the animals? Well, in part 3 of this video series, I'm going to put it all together for you to show you how you can do it right. What's going on, everyone? This is Steven Lome, lifestyle medicine cardiologist, and if it's your first time on this channel, click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on if you want to learn more about lifestyle medicine, evidence-based nutrition, chronic disease prevention, reversal, and everything surrounding those topics. So in part 1 of our video series, we talked about macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and in part 2, we talked about micronutrients and focused a bit on vitamin B12. We categorize food into 3 groups: processed foods, which include refined carbohydrates and oils, animal-based foods, and whole plant foods. We don't want any processed foods, we don't want any animal foods for sure, and we want to focus on the whole plant food. And we know the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has said straight out that 100% plant-based diet is nutritionally adequate, so we should be good, but we need to ensure ourselves a good source of vitamin B12, which I talked about in detail in those previous videos. So now, let me give you a lot of different tips and tricks and ideas and resources to help you put all of this together so you can be successful and thrive for the rest of your life on a whole food vegan diet. Now remember, there are over 200,000 edible plant species out there. There's going to be so much food for you to eat. You're going to absolutely love it. It's a whole new crazy journey that you're about to embark on, that you're going to find all these different foods that you've never had before, you never tried before, that you love, that you didn't even know that they existed. And now it's a new culinary journey that's just going to blow your mind away. And you really have to have that type of a mindset. Keep it positive. The only time people will fail on this type of diet is if they don't consume enough calories, right? So keep the portions big, eat all you want until you're full, as long as you're focusing on the whole plant foods. Don't let yourself go calorie deficient. Only plant foods contain fiber. You know you're doing good on a whole food vegan diet when it takes you longer to pee than it does to poop, right? Before your transition, you opened up your refrigerator and all you saw was a bunch of dead animals and meat and eggs and dairy in there. Now you're going to open up your refrigerator and what are you going to see? A garden full of vibrant colors, fruits and vegetables that are going to keep you healthy, make you live a longer, better life. So let's talk about what is a whole food. No, not this type of whole food. Come on. I'm talking about when we say whole food vegan diet, what are we talking about? Well, a whole food we define as something in which a healthy component of the food wasn't removed. You leave all the healthy stuff in, and a harmful thing to your health was not added, such as salt, oil, or sugar wasn't added to it. So you want food in its natural, intact state, the way nature intended you to get your food. So for removing all processed foods and all animal foods from your diet, a lot of people say, well, what the heck is there left to eat? Well, like we said, there's more than 200,000 edible plant species. We're going to focus on fruits, vegetables, beans and legumes, and there's over 100 different types of beans, legumes, and lentils that are out there. Whole grains, and there are dozens of different types of whole grains that you could try. Nuts and seeds, herbs and spices. There are so many foods out there, you're going to be blown away once you really look into it. Now, it's so important to distinguish between vegan and whole food plant-based or whole food vegan. If somebody's vegan, we know what they don't eat. They don't eat animal products, right? But we don't know what they do eat. They could be eating a lot of processed foods. Oreo cookies are vegan. There's these Beyond Burgers and Impossible Whoppers and different types of processed, high-fat, high-sugar, high-salt, plant-based foods, which are not good for you. But if you say I'm whole food vegan or I'm whole food plant-based, you know that your diet contains only whole unprocessed plant-based foods, which you could still have whole food oatmeal with fruit on it. You could have whole food plant-based burgers and soups. You could have pasta dishes and pizzas. You could still have all the foods that you always liked on a whole food vegan diet. But it's super important to distinguish between vegan, which might not be healthy, and whole food plant-based or whole food vegan, which is certainly a very healthy way to eat. And the concept of the whole food is so important. Just like you don't want to squeeze all the fat out of olives to make olive oil and throw all the fiber and nutrients away, you don't want to squeeze all the juice out of oranges, right? And have orange juice, because then you're throwing all the fiber and most of the nutrients away when you just drink the orange juice and don't eat the orange in its whole natural form. Go ahead and eat the olive. Go ahead and eat the orange, not the olive oil or the orange juice. And when you look at something like soybeans, eating the intact soybean is the best way to go, right? But if you slightly process it into tofu or into something called tempeh, which is fermented soy, you're technically not removing anything healthy from it. You're not adding anything harmful to it. So those are kind of still whole foods, but they're slightly processed. They're okay to have in smaller amounts. But if you were to just take all the protein and just suck it out of soy and get something called soy protein isolate, now that's way too much processing. You remove the fiber, you removed a lot of the good things. That's not considered a whole food. And you want to make sure you're getting a good variety of whole plant foods. You don't just want to focus on one food group, like eating only fruits or eating mostly beans or grains. You need a whole variety. And to make sure you have a good variety, check out Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app. It's a free app. I'll link to it in the description below. Basically, every single day, you can just click your check boxes to go through, did I have my beans, my grains, my cruciferous vegetables? And then if you have questions about things you want to look it up, it actually has links to videos on nutritionfacts.org, which will tell you all about those different types of foods within those categories. It's a phenomenal free tool. Check it out. Now, I advocate everybody check out chronometer.com. When you're changing over to a plant-based diet, you just want some reassurance that you're getting all your macronutrients and your micronutrients. This is a free tool. You plug in your food. It tells you how many macronutrients you get and how many micronutrients you get. Just do it for a day or two, just to kind of prove to yourself that as long as you eat a variety of whole plant foods, according to a resource such as Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app, you're going to get all the nutrients that you need. So a little tip now on how to actually go about this transition. What we really advocate people doing is looking at a bunch of recipe websites, which I'm going to show you soon, and then dabbling with some different recipes, figuring out a little bit of breakfasts and lunches and dinners, play around with it for a week or two or so, and then pick a day and go all in. And the magic number is usually 3 weeks, 21 days. Go all in for 3 weeks. Then you're going to end up seeing the energy increase, the health benefits, and your taste preferences will change so much that you're going to say, I don't want to go back. And there's a bunch of great resources that you could use to do a 21-day kickstart. PCRM.org has a great one. There's other ones from Veganuary and 22-Day Challenge. Check them out. I'll link them in the description below. But it's super important for you to realize it's going to take a little bit of time for your taste preferences to change. If you've been eating more standard American for a while, then you go and eat a whole plant food, especially if there's no salt or oil or sugar in it, it's going to taste like cardboard to you, right? That's not necessarily good. You don't want to be eating food that tastes horrible for the rest of your life. But just stick to it and you're going to find your cravings change. It takes about 7 to 10 days for cravings for sugar and salt to really go away. It could take even longer for cravings for fat to go away, but you're going to get there. Just stick to it. And that's why that 21 days is that magic number. I wanted to bust another myth about plant-based diets. People say, hey man, going vegan, it's much more expensive. And yeah, it maybe is if you eat a bunch of processed vegan food, like I'm going to show you soon. But if you're focusing on the whole plant food, it's actually way cheaper. Check out this Forks Over Knives article, living on $1.50 a day on a whole food plant-based diet. And then there's another good book as well that was written on how to eat vegan on a budget. So you could actually really make this cheap. Now let's just quickly look at some examples of animal-based foods and how much they cost compared to plant-based foods. Look at the cost of beef compared to the cost of beans. The beans are under $1 a pound. Look at the cost of chicken compared to the cost of lentils, for example. And look at the cost of salmon compared to the cost of kidney beans. You're going to find that for protein for sure, and in other areas as well, the cost of the plant-based foods can be crazy, crazy cheap. And you could save a lot of money on your food bill, not to mention your medical bills and for medications, if you just eat the whole unprocessed plant-based food. Now let's go through some pointers about reading labels really quick. Now remember, straight out, the best foods have no label. Look at the apple. There's no label on an apple. It's just an apple. That's it. But you really want something that has the fewest number of ingredients, and you don't want anything with added sugar, oil, or salt, or lecithins, which is the type of fat that's added in there. You want as few ingredients as you can possibly find in a food product. And if you don't recognize what the ingredient is, then just simply don't buy it. So looking at a specific label, if you see there's any cholesterol at all in the food product, don't buy it. Remember, cholesterol in the diet only comes from animal-based food, so if the label says cholesterol, it has an animal product in it. You want 0 cholesterol in all your foods. Then look at the sodium. If the number of milligrams of sodium are more than the number of calories, then you know there's significant added salt to it. Don't buy it. Look at the saturated fat content. Remember, about 90% of saturated fat in the American diet comes from animal-based foods. There might be a teeny bit in plant-based foods, but if there's a lot of saturated fat in something, don't get it. It's not good for your health, no matter where it comes from. And then look for fiber. If it says 0 fiber, it's not good for you. You know it's been either a refined, processed plant food or it's an animal food, because animal foods have no fiber. So certainly you want a lot of fiber on every single label and every single food you buy. So this is an example of a label from a healthier, essentially whole plant food from Uncle Sam's cereal. It's minimally processed, and if you look at it, there's no cholesterol in it, right? The number of milligrams of sodium is less than the number of calories, so we're good there. Then we also look and we see that there's tons of fiber in it, especially when you compare it to the overall total carbohydrate. The ratio of total carbohydrate to fiber is around 4:1, which is great. You kind of want to keep it less than 5:1. That's when you know that you're getting a lot of fiber compared to the overall total carbohydrate content. So look at this example of this bread that looks like it's a good, healthy, whole grain bread with no nonsense added, right? But look at the label, and we're going to see that there's more milligrams of sodium than the number of calories that are in it, right? And we're also going to see they added sugar right there on the label. They said they added sugar, and you're going to see that the overall total carbohydrate to fiber ratio is not as favorable as the last example that we showed. Then you pull out the ingredient list, and what are you going to see? Added sugar, added oil, added lecithin, and not only that, but artificial sweetener added as well. This is not considered a whole food because they added harmful components to it. This is not something you want to buy, but the marketing is very powerful. A lot of people buy it thinking they're doing okay. Let's do one last label and check it out. You look at this one, you're going to see there's a lot of salt added to this. There's a lot more milligrams of sodium compared to the overall number of calories. So salt is definitely added here. Then you look, there is fiber, which is good. You know it's not a highly processed food because there's a significant amount of fiber, and the saturated fat is relatively low, so we're doing okay there. Now you look at the label then and look at the ingredients, and they're going to mark it as vegan, but remember, vegan isn't always healthy if you're adding a bunch of oils and sugars and other processed components to it, right? And you look at the ingredients, and yep, there it is. There's sugar and there's oil added to it, so not a whole food product. And you'll actually see that when you look at labels, they're going to actually hide sugar on the ingredient list in almost 50 different ways. Now, you don't need to memorize this chart. Just be aware that they're going to try to sneak it in there anywhere they can. I know it's a lot of information to take in. And I tell people straight out that changing your diet and your lifestyle is no different than learning how to play an instrument, right? You can't just watch one video on YouTube. You can't just watch one documentary on Netflix and boom, be a good guitar player. Well, you can't just watch this video and say, boom, I know everything I need to be successful. And now I'm on a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet. It doesn't work that way. You really got to work at it just like the skill of learning how to play an instrument. If you want to learn more about that and how to develop the skill, check out my video on weight loss. I discussed that in great detail. You know what's awesome though? There are so many resources out there for you to help you be successful transitioning over to a plant-based diet. You wouldn't believe the huge list of resources I'm going to put in the description below. You're going to be blown away. Books, websites, podcasts, food delivery services, conferences you can go to, vacation places you can go that'll have all plant-based diet options for you, and the recipe websites. You're going to be blown away by thousands and thousands of recipes. Whatever you used to eat on your prior diet, you're going to be able to find a recipe in which you can eat that same food in a whole food, plant-based form. There is no way that you're going to go hungry on this type of a diet. And to really be successful and maintain this in the long term, which is, of course, the goal, there's no point in doing something for a month or two. You want to be healthy for the rest of your life. You need to really learn this. You need to watch all the different documentaries that are out there, which I'm going to link in the description below. And you need to also figure out some of the other motivating factors that people have to stick to plant-based diets. Check out the documentary called The Game Changers, which is available on iTunes October 1st, 2019, and hopefully will be available more widespread digitally soon. And check out other documentaries. Think about other aspects of your diet. Think about where your food comes from. Now, you should check out the documentary called Dominion. It's on YouTube for free. It shows where the animal foods come from. That's going to give you strong motivation to avoid the animal products. Check out the documentary called Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy goes over the negative environmental impact that animal-based foods has. Hugely negative environmental impact, one of the leading causes of climate change, which a lot of people don't realize. Now, some people go on plant-based diets just to help the environment or just to avoid harming animals. Even if you're doing it just for health, there's nothing wrong with the fact that your diet choices are going to help the environment and are going to help the animals. I encourage you all to learn about those aspects because it's going to give you extra motivation to stick to a healthy plant-based diet. So just some last words of advice. I know you can do it. You have the power yourself to control your own health destiny. It's not up to genes. It's not up to your doctors to give you the right pills. It's up to you. And it's an empowering, wonderful thing that you can control your own health destiny. You can reverse your heart disease, your diabetes, lose weight, and just prevent yourself from developing the chronic diseases that plague our country and our whole world so much. But it's so important for you to understand that getting support can help you be more successful in the long term. Find other people that are on the same journey with you. Go to potlucks or meet up with people. Get on the Facebook groups and discuss the situation so you know you're not alone, that you're on this health journey together with many other people. Learn the skill of a healthy lifestyle. It's going to take some time, but get yourself educated. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you're going to be at it. And just make sure you focus on the positives, right? Think about all the wonderful good foods you can eat, not the things you can't eat. Don't say, I can't have this, I can't have that. Think, I don't want to have this because I know the negative impact it's going to have on my health, not to mention the health of the planet and the animals, of course. So focus on the positives. You can and you will be successful. Well, I hope you like part 3 of this video series on how to do a vegan diet the right way. First talking about macronutrients, then micronutrients, and then putting it all together. Bonus for you, I have a video coming out soon talking about oils and why it is that we really don't want oils in the diet. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss any of my future videos. And shoot me a comment in the section below and let me know any tips or tricks that you might have on transitioning to a healthy, whole food, vegan diet. See you next time.